So we're going to learn today the third chapter of Tanya, and we're going to try to focus, like Rabbi Smith asked me, on the practical side, not just in the concepts. So one of the things that I discussed over here it's very fundamental, because a person needs to know what they possess. What do they have inside their operating mechanisms? We have a body, but we also have a lot of strength inside this body that's not physical. It's emotional, it's intellectual, and of course spiritual. So we're going to deal here with the spiritual aspect, feelings and the intellect and the willpower and the pleasure. A person has a lot of strength. Where does all these powerful feelings and attributes, where does it come from? One second, please. So where does it come from? It comes from above. Everything in the physical world has a chain reaction from the spiritual world. So we all have feelings. We have different types of feelings. We have kindness in us. We have discipline. That's chesed and gvura, and rachmanas, to have compassion, and netzach, victory, to be competitive, hoid, to acknowledge, yisoid is to bond with people, and malchus is leadership. It's also to accept authority, to be obedient. There's many aspects to every one of us, and every person has a different level of how they operate. By some people, there's more kindness is more revealed, and some people, the other side is more revealed. The gvura, the severity, the harshness, they're more, they're tough. They're not so soft. So where does all this come from? Why are there so many differences amongst us? The answer is because we all come, our neshamas come from different levels by Hashem. And Hashem created a system that there's also 10 sefirot, there's 10 emanations, there's 10 levels, how Hashem reveals himself. And these 10 levels become the source of our 10 attributes. We have 10 faculties. We have 3 components in the intellect, Chachma, Bina, Das, which I'm going to explain in a minute. That's 3. And the 7 midos, 7 attributes, and 3 and 7 equal 10. And 10 we know is a complete number, and 10 is a holy number, and the number 10 is connected with the 10 sefirot, with the 10 attributes and 10 levels that Hashem created the world. That says in the Gemara Chagiga, Hashem created the world with 10 levels of his emanations, his light, his glory. B'chachma, bina, and tfuna, and das, and the Gemara gives it a few different names, but it's basically, it's the Kabbalah in the Gemara. So here, the Alter Rebbe begins explaining what is Chabad. Chabad is an acronym, Chachma, Bina, Das. In English, Chachma means wisdom or intelligence. Bina is understanding the details of the intelligence, of the wisdom, of the idea. And Das is knowledge. And we're going to go through these 3 definitions now of these three levels of the brain in the spiritual way. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a neurologist. I can't talk in the medical terms. But it's in Hasidus, it talks about also the physiology, the physicality of how it works, how it operates in the brain. There's Chachma, Bina, and Das is in the back. There's three places in the brain where the function of the brain is a little bit different. That's why we find when a person has an idea, let's say he wants to build a house. So he has an idea. Now, how is he going to build a house? He has to have the details. So that the original idea, that's called Chachma. And the understanding and the details of it to develop the concept, that's called Bina. And bringing it down into feelings and to practicality, that would be the bridge. It's called Das. Of course, there's so much to say about all these ideas, these concepts and ideas, and each word over here is carefully, has to be examined. As I told you, the Alter Rebbe, the Baal Tanya, spent 20 years writing the Tanya. So it's not fair that in 30 minutes we should sum up a whole chapter, and think that we mastered it when the Alter Rebbe spent many months, at least, on each chapter. But we're not on his level. We'll try our best. So he begins to say that, again, you want to talk to practical. Every Jew who learns the third chapter in Tanya should be very, very excited, very uplifted, knowing that the 10 faculties that you possess in your body through the soul, which is the 3 levels of intellect and the 7 levels of emotions, originate from Hashem's 10 levels. That's amazing. That's very special. If you know that Hashem gave you a personal gift, that he invested in you, in your little body, he has placed a mechanism that's a gift from Hashem, that originates from Hashem's highest levels of emanation, of his glory, of his presence. That's the 10 Sfirot. Then you have to be Moli Simcha. Wow, I'm walking around with an amazing gift. And I didn't even know about it. Or I knew, but I didn't understand it. Imagine if the king, Lahavdil, a physical king, sends you an email or sends you in the mail or UPS or FedEx a personal gift, and he says, "This is my personal gift for you because I care about you and I love you, and I want you to think about me every day, and I think about you. I'll think about you, not just once a day, every second of the day." It's not possible that the king should do that to every citizen because he's limited. But Hashem is unlimited. So when a person knows that their 10 faculties come from the 10 Sfiros from Hashem, it's going to inspire them tremendously. Then he goes further. He says, why did Hashem give us the intellect? He gave us intellect so we should utilize it and arouse in us feelings for him. Why do we have to have feelings? Because Hashem made us human nature, the human beings. If we don't have feelings and we don't utilize them, then we're very cold, and then we don't want to interact with each other. The feelings is what brings us closer to other people. First with our immediate family, and then the circle grows. Close friends, associates, and generally that people, the civilization, the citizens of the same country, there is a common bond. There has to be an acknowledgement, a feeling, on some level that you want to all work for the same cause. Well, spiritually, it's even more than that, because Ahavas Yisrael, that one Jew should feel the love for another Jew, should wish him well, should pray for him. This is part of Hashem's plan. This is part of Hashem's mandate. He wants us, and he commands us to do that. But how are you going to do it? Unless your brain operates in this pattern, this track, to tell you that another person is very important to you. So you have to sensitize your brain. Then you got to sensitize your feelings. So here he continues with the idea that Hashem has given us a great gift, which is called the koyach ha-chochma. Chochma is two words. Chochma means wisdom or brilliance, and it's broken up in the Lashon Kodesh, in the Hebrew, into two words. Koyach ma. It's the power of ma. What is ma? Ma, he doesn't explain exactly, but ma over here means the neshama. Ma is bitul. Bitul means to be totally nullified and humble for Hashem. Our spiritual power of the brain of Chachma is not the regular intellect that people refer to. I have intellect, I'm smart, I can study math, I can study science, I can study business, I know how to fix cars. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the level of Chachma that the neshama is dwelling, it's resting in your brain. So there has to be that there's something in the brain that's a receptacle, it's a vessel to receive the edelkeit, the refined power and holiness of the neshama. It has to be comfortable to be there. What is that power that makes the neshama feel comfortable to rest inside the brain? That's the humility that a person has. That humility is called ma. Ma means, what is it? We don't know what it is, because it's not an entity independent of Hashem. The brain that contains the neshama, that part of the brain, and the neshama is totally humble to Hashem. So that's why it's called koyach ma. It's the koyach of humility. There's other reasons also, but not for now, why it's called koyach ma. But basically, when Moshe Rabbeinu and when the Yidden were complaining to him in Parshas B'Shalach about the man, him and Aaron said, "V'nachnu ma." What are we? Who are we? Why are you complaining to us? Complain to Hashem. So they use the words "v'nachnu ma." What are we? So ma and ma is the power of bittul, of humility. We're nothing, they said. We're only Hashem's servants. Don't complain to us. Go to the source. So Chachma, now we learned a new definition of wisdom. Wisdom, according to Tanya, according to the definition of how the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe learns Pshat in Chachma, is a whole new understanding of what's Chachma. Chachma is not, I'm so smart, I'm very intelligent, I have a high IQ. That's not what's Chachma according to the Torah. Where do we find such a thing? This concept. Everything the Alter Rebbe says is a source in it, earlier, in the earlier writings. The Mishnah Pirkei Avos says in the 4th chapter, Azal Chacham. What's the definition of a Chacham? Haloimed mikol adam, that he learns from every person. Doesn't say who's smart, someone who knows 300 pages of the Gemaras of the Shas by heart, and someone who understands the Zohar. It doesn't say that. It says someone who is humble to learn from every single person. Why? That makes him smart. That makes him humble. Why does it say Zel Chacham? The answer is because the definition of Chachma is not what the dictionary says what's Chachma. We're learning now Tanya. The Tanya says, what is Chachma? The ability to the power, the koyach. Chachma is two words. Koyach, ma. You just have to rearrange the letters. The koyach, the power of being humble, and the humility expressed itself first to be humble to Hashem, and they want to learn something positive from every person. If a person says, I cannot learn from other people much, I'm so advanced, I'm so smart, and these people are so backwards and they don't have nothing to tell me. He is not smart according to the Torah. He doesn't have chachma. He might be smart in the secular world. But in Torah, that's not the definition of being chacham. Now we're going to go to Bina. So once we establish what's chachma, that chachma is to take the brain and the intellect and to utilize it, to understand the greatness of Hashem and that we're nothing for Hashem. We're humble to Hashem. Now we go to Bina. What's Bina? To develop like a baby, a fetus that's being developed in the mother's womb. That's why we say in Tehillim, Aim habonim smecha. Aim, mother, and gives birth to the children. Well, it all starts with a drop of semen. That drop, that's like the chachma. That's the eureka. That's the first initial point. Comes the bina, like the mother that develops the seed from the father in the womb for 9 months, and it develops it with details. Hashem helps that from that little drop, and there's energy in it, of course. There's a lot of power that Hashem puts into that drop of semen, and it expands. Tremendous godly energy that only Hashem could do that. How could it be? How is it possible? Well, Hashem made it like that. And lahavdil, even the goyim, they also have this power from Hashem. It's God's gift to us. But now we're going to go back to how we use it. In the Tanya, he says it's like the father and the mother. The father and mother get together and have a baby. The baby comes out of the mother's womb after 9 months. So he gives the parable. He says the mother's very happy, right? Like it says in Tehillim, in Halo, well, when a person begins thinking about Hashem, about the greatness of Hashem, and that Hashem fills the world and he encompasses the world, and the whole world is nullified, is like nothing for Hashem. He's going to have tremendous emotions, both love and fear of Hashem. He's going to have a fire in him. He's going to have a flame of fire and a desire. He wants to get close to Hashem. He wants to get out of the body. He doesn't want to be here anymore. He has so much fire and passion. So that's like the baby that comes out of the womb from the mother after 9 months. The same thing, the intellect, which starts with the chachma and then goes to the bina. Starts with the idea. He has an idea, thinks about Hashem. He's in total awe of Hashem. That's chachma. The Alter Rebbe is going to say later in the later chapters that the Mesiras Nefesh, that every Jew has the ability to give their life to Hashem, that comes from chachma. What's the connection with chachma? If chachma is purely intellect, there's nothing to do with giving your life for Hashem. The answer is, according to Tanya, there's a totally different definition to chachma than what secular chachma really means. So then he has this amazing connection. He wants to be humble to Hashem. And then Hashem says, I gave you a brain. Now utilize your brain, your intellect, to contemplate and to meditate in detail about Hashem, like it says here in the Tanya and also in the Rambam, the beginning of the Rambam, where he talks about how does a person come to love and fear Hashem? The Torah says we should love and fear Hashem. How do you fulfill that mitzvah? You got to practice it. You got to spend time on it. How? By contemplating, because she is boinen, when you contemplate and meditate on the greatness of Hashem and how much Hashem has done for you and how much He's done for Am Yisrael and how much He does for the entire world. And we know nothing about Him. Like God's greatness is unlimited. All these things will arouse in you tremendous feelings. So this is like the baby that's born after 9 months. So the intellect, the Chacham and Bina, are like the father and the mother. Just like a father gives the drop, the semen, and the mother develops it. The same thing, the Bina, the understanding of this concept of thinking about Hashem becomes more developed in detail in that component of the brain that's called Bina. Now we go to Das. What's Das? Das is knowledge. Alter Rebbe says that's not the accurate translation according to the Torah, because it's much deeper than that, much more profound. When the Torah talks about Adam, that he had intimacy with Chava, it doesn't say he slept with her and whatever. It doesn't say that. It says one word, that Hashem chose this word. V'ha'adam yoda es Chava. And Adam knew Chava. That means knowing means becoming one. When a person has intimacy, they become one with their partner. Well, we have to become one with Hashem. That's what Das is. It's not just processing the information. It's becoming one with what we're processing. And like he says, Eina Mesiach Daitei. And you can't stop thinking about it. Because if you let go, it's not going to keep going. It's not going to last. You have to always have in your head that focus, no matter when it is, even in the middle of the night, whenever it is. As soon as you're conscious, you say, wait, I'm a servant for Hashem. Otherwise, he says, you won't be able to bring out emotions and feelings which will last. They'll be very short term. Those feelings and what a person arouses by thinking and contemplating the greatness of Hashem, that's compared to the children, to the baby that comes out of the womb. That's the strength of a person is when he's wholesome, when he's complete. What makes us complete? When we use our intellect and our emotions properly, how Hashem intended, how Hashem wants us to do this. So once again, he says, take the time to understand, first of all, who you are. What do you possess in your body and in your soul? Recognize how lucky you are. Recognize and understand and pray that Hashem should help you. You should be able to utilize your intellect and your emotions for Hashem. You shouldn't get tired of it. You shouldn't get distracted. And you shouldn't go off the track. There were people, unfortunately, in Jewish history that they knew all of this, but they didn't go on the right track. Why? Because they were missing the fundamentals. What is the fundamental? The fundamental is humility for Hashem. The fundamental doesn't start with the intellect. The intellect has a source, has roots. It has a foundation. The foundation is the awe and the fear of Hashem. Reishis Chachma, Yiras Hashem. What is the beginning of Chachma? The fear of God. Again, what does the fear of God have to do with Chachma? If Chachma means intellect and fear of God is two different things. No, not according to the Torah, not according to the way the Tanya explains this part of the deeper meaning of Chachma. Chachma is not the function of my brain that operates in a sophisticated way. I'm a Chacham. That's why we say Talmud Chacham. Talmud Chacham means he's a student of Chacham. No matter, even if he's 90 years old, we call him a Talmud Chacham. Why? Because he's always going to remain a student. He always has to be humble and know that he's only a student of Hashem and of his great rabbis. The moment he forgets and he thinks that he's not a student anymore, he knows it all, he's going to, God forbid, get into trouble. That's why we find that Hashem always reminds us in the Torah that we are his students. And the first letter in the Torah is Bereshis, not an Aleph. It starts with a Beis, Bereshis, not Aleph. So one of the reasons is because a Jew, when he learns Torah, he has to know that he's always number two. He's not number one. Even if he's a rabbi and a teacher and a leader, no matter who he is, he always has to remember that Hashem is first. And he has to be humble to Hashem and humble to people. Like we said before from Pirkei Avos. From every person you can learn something good, and therefore we have to treat each other with the proper respect and understand that Hashem wants us to utilize our chachma, our brilliance, to see the best in every person. Okay, guys.